it's time to make our application more complex by adding two new entities, order line and product. So the order will contain a set of order lines, which refer to some product. Furthermore, we will implement order amount calculation based on the quantity and price of the selected products. The order contains a collection of order lines, which implies that they have one-to-many relationship. The type of relationship is composition. This is a kind of one-to-many relation. That means that the order lines are created and edited alongside the original order. The order line, in turn, refers to the product as many-to-one. The type of this relationship is association. Let's create the product and define its attributes. Name, which is a string, and price, which is a big decimal. Both attributes are mandatory. Set name as the instance name of the entity. Now let's create the order line entity. Add the following attributes: order, which is a many-to-one reference to the order, product, which is a many-to-one reference to the product, and finally the quantity, which is a big decimal attribute that sets the product quantity for a given order line. Set the scale to 3. Now, let's define a collection of lines for the order. Open the order entity for editing and create the lines attribute, which is a composition reference to the order line entity. The corresponding attribute on the reverse side of the relationship will be automatically inserted in the mapped by field. Click OK to save the changes. Studio suggests us to append new attributes to the screens and related views. We can always modify any of them later on. Let's generate the database update scripts. At this point, the data model and the corresponding database tables are created. Let's move on and create the user interface. To begin with, prepare the views for loading the entities of the data model. Order line will always be used with the product name and price, so let's create the order line with product view and add the product attribute to it. Specify the local view to the associated attribute. The order editor should display a collection of order lines, so let's define the order edit view for the order entity. Specify the minimal view for the customer entity. After that, specify the lines attribute and the order line with product view for it. Now let's create the browsers and editors for the new entities. First, let's do this for the product entity. After that, create the UI for order line. The list of order lines should be displayed in the order editor only, so we don't need an order line browser. Select order line with product as the edit view. Start the application server. At this stage, we can fill in the products catalog. But the order editor does not contain the lines we wanted to see. Let's move on to a more complicated part of the project, which involves working with order lines. Open the OrderEdit XML file for editing and switch to the Data Sources tab. Select the new OrderEdit view, which includes the lines attribute, for the OrderDS data source. This data source loads the edited order instance. Switch to the Layout tab. Select the Lines table to add the product column to it. Open the columns list and add the following columns: product name and product price. The direct order line attributes, such as product and quantity, can be selected from a drop-down list, while the related entity attributes should be specified manually. All the attributes used in the columns will be loaded from the database when the screen is opened, as we have defined the OrderEdit view for the OrderDS data source. The list of table actions contains the standard create, edit, and remove actions. You can always add more actions if needed. The Buttons panel component already contains several buttons associated with the standard table actions. To make our table more compact, set the absolute table width, for example 350 pixels. Apply the changes to a screen. If the application server is running, Studio will perform hot deploy, and we will be able to view the changes simply by switching to the web browser and reopening the order editor. At this stage, we can create and modify the list of order lines. We still have to implement the order amount calculations based on the product price and quantity. Open the order editor with IntelliJ IDEA. We see the XML descriptor of the screen created by Studio. Switch to the Java controller. The easiest way to do it is to click on the name of the OrderEdit class at the class attribute of the window element, holding Ctrl. To begin with, let's inject the link to the lines.ds data source into the controller class. In order to do this, select Generate in the context menu and then select Inject. Select lines.ds in the pop-up window. Now add a listener to the data source in the init method, using the lambda expression as the implementation. The lambda expression will call the new calculateAmount method. Let's return to the application and reopen the order editor. As we can see, the order amount corresponds to the order lines, and if you modify them, the amount is recalculated. Now we have completed the main goal of our tutorial. Join our community, take a look at Sampler, and consult the documentation on our website. Thank you for watching!